Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Success Shift. My name is Jake, and hopefully here on Friday we can shift your perspective, change your mind a little bit, and give you a different outlook on some of the things that we may be struggling with. I like to get into the minds of most of us here and try and open up some of the thought patterns so that we can move further forward in our progress to success, and often relate a lot of that back to trading, as this is where the basis of my drive and passion comes from. Today, we have had a great family day. We've been out and about running some errands, getting some good outdoor activities in the cold. It's actually raining a little bit, and I don't know, something about me really likes the rain. I think I'm born in June, but in Australia that's a winter baby, and even though our winters are pretty pathetic compared to the ones in Europe, something about the rain and the electricity in the air, and I think the clouds and thunderstorms and stuff like that. I really love it, and it gives me a bit of extra energy. So I liked being out today, even though it was a bit cold. It was still nice. Right, this week, what have we been talking about? We have been talking a little bit about the fixed and growth mindset on Tuesday. And then yesterday, we went through some of that because the week before, we've been talking a lot about self-sabotage and our self-narrative, and the story we tell about ourselves to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, our affirmations, the things we say about ourselves on the daily. And I want to get into that a little bit and touch on a few of the intelligences that we have, and a little bit about procrastination if we've got any procrastinators. But today, going into gratitude, I'm very grateful for the ability to travel. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to have lived in so many different cultures. I think I lived so more than about 5 months in 6 different countries now, I think. And it really does open your mind up to accepting of other people, a lot of social differences, a lot of cultural differences, and it really helps with a lot of my growth. So I'm very grateful to have that opportunity to have been so, I guess, exposed to so much difference. Now, yesterday I was going through those 3 questions, which I put to the group, and I would love for anyone who would like to share that today. So chuck in the chat some of your gratitude, but also maybe chuck into the chat if you're willing to share maybe some of the answers that you had to those questions for us to go through. Because if we have some people willing to do that, then maybe we can share a bit of that. Otherwise, I'll go through some of the stuff that I mentioned earlier. So for now, chuck your gratitude in. We'll go over a bit of that, and then we'll get started on some of the stuff that I had for today. Grateful for my exercise. Grateful my exercise is over and I'm having coffee with you, and grateful it's Friday. Yeah, I haven't done my exercise today. I've been a bit slack on it. Got out of the house, had a bit of a sleep in. So it's something that's just lingering over my head to do this afternoon. So I'll be getting into that soon. I'm grateful to be able to go back home to spend time with my family after being away for work. Yeah, it can always be nice. Family reunions. I'm very much looking forward to my next family reunion. Mum's coming in a month, actually less than a month now, which I cannot wait. I love my mum. She'll be back in Germany, so I'm very excited for that. Very grateful for that. Grateful for the weekend plans coming up with family and friends. Love it. Yeah, nothing like socializing. Right. So there's no one here that wants to share with their 3 questions. That's completely fine. I do encourage everyone to go and delve into that a little bit more. So the 3 questions were: what is your biggest fear? What is your biggest drive and passions? And who is your biggest role model? Now, I went through my 3 questions yesterday, even though we were running a bit out of time. But there's a lot that you can learn from this. And I did a bit more deep diving on mine, so I'll share a few more of the lessons, and that's sort of where I get into procrastination. And this lesson has come from me doing that self-dive a bit further, but that'll be the second half of what I talk about today. But without further ado, we shall get into it. I still have not gone through my questions. I will, though, as I gained so much insight from you sharing yours yesterday. I'm grateful for morning routine. Oh man, I have been off and on with routine. So this morning was a gift. I'm also grateful for relationships. Can I share my 3 questions next week? Yes, you can. That'd be great. If you guys want to do that as well, if anyone else wants to go through and do those questions, answer them over the weekend, and maybe we can touch base on them and go through a little bit. Because I think giving examples, this is like when I did the 7 levels deep exercise with a few of you. Actually going through the process with someone, A, helps them, but B, helps people listening to figure out how they can do it and how they can self-evaluate, which is the whole goal of this entire show, is to be able to have those listening have the opportunity to self-evaluate, self-learn, and obviously grow. Right, let's move on to this concept of fixed mindset and growth mindset. This is what we're talking about on Tuesday. I think a lot of people have a fixed mindset, and this comes down to the concepts of nature, nurture, I'm a true believer of the fact that we are 50-50. I think there's scientific proof saying that we're roughly 50-50. You are born a certain way, and the environment in which you involve yourself in for the majority of your life is going to turn you out another certain way. I believe that you can learn absolutely anything. I believe it's Tom Bilyeu who says you can get 100 times better at absolutely anything. However, our natural circumstances are going to withhold that. So, for example, I love basketball, but I'm 5'10". I played really hard. I trained really hard. I got to a good level, but I'm never going to make it to the NBA. I'm just not 6 foot and I can't dunk a ball. So, as much as I would like to get better, I have a certain limitation of where I can get based on my natural, my size, my height, everything like that, my genes, my muscle mass, all that sort of stuff. Doesn't mean I can't get better, just doesn't mean I can get to the top. Okay. And also, I probably wouldn't make a very good jockey, because even though I'm 5'10", I'm a little bit stocky, have a little bit of extra weight. So I can probably lose a bunch of weight and get good at it, but I'm not going to be the best, right? So we have to work to our skills, but we do have the ability to grow and develop in any single area that we choose. This is my belief. If we put the effort in, right? And this is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And I would like to implore everyone to look at the situations where you're struggling and decide, are you putting a fixed mindset or a growth mindset onto whatever it is that you're looking at? So, okay, this is hard. Oh, I'm never going to be good at this. What are the words you're saying to yourself? What's the self-narrative? What affirmations are you using when you're going through a challenge? I believe it was in the book, Be Like Water. The book from Bruce Lee. I just started reading it, about Bruce Lee. It's not from him. And what was the quote that he used? We all grow through frustrated challenges, I believe it was. And so growth comes from those challenges where we really get frustrated, where we really struggle, where we really find ourselves just like, why can't I get this? Those challenges, those struggles, that is where we really grow. And I like to relate it back to the muscles of, this metaphor that I've done many times. When we go to the gym, what do? We lift weights until we break the fibers and our arms literally can't lift the weights anymore. We go to the exhaustion, we go to breaking point. And then what happens? Our body, the marvelous thing it does, it reconnects those fibers, it grows them back stronger, it grows them back even better. We need to do the same with our mind, okay? So we push ourselves to a point where I just can't figure this out. My brain feels like it's melting, I'm exhausted, I just can't get it. We go rest, we come back, we take the lessons we've learned, we get more information, we can do it again. And over time, what happens? Our mind grows. Our growth mindset expands. We leave our comfort zone. We get into that fear zone. And then once we start getting past that fear zone, we get into the growth zone, right? Deanna, when we were at the very start of this podcast, when Deanna was helping us out on Thursdays, she went through that chart. So it's all related, and it all comes down to this idea that if you truly believe you can be good at anything, then you can. Okay. And one of my favorite quotes that stuck with me for ages, and it's come from many different areas. I couldn't tell you where it came from first. I'm going to say the Dalai Lama said it at one point, but basically, whether you truly believe you can or you truly believe you can't, you are correct. Okay. And this when I first heard this, it got to me, and I was like, oh my God. And I believe it's the basic idea through the book, Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. But whether you truly believe and think that you can, or you truly believe and think that you can't, you're always going to be correct, because it's that thought and that belief that you have about the thing you're doing that is going to be what makes you achieve or not achieve the thing that you're doing. Okay. So when we spoke about fixed and growth mindset, the phrasing that we used was people with fixed mindset believe that intelligence and talent is born. People with growth mindset believe that intelligence and talent can be developed and grown, right? And I just wanted to, when I was talking about it, I said at the time that there are 4 pillars of intelligence. And this is what I kind of want to go through a little bit today before I get on to the idea of procrastination that I got from my further learning. So you've heard me talk a lot about emotional intelligence in trading. I believe it's extremely important. I've done full episodes on emotional intelligence just because of how important I believe it is for a trader to have that ability to find self-awareness, to control, regulate, and understand their own emotions, to see how they respond and react in certain situations. What are their on-chart behaviors? How do their emotions respond and create these behaviors? Or how can you regulate and withhold certain behaviors, right? So emotional intelligence is one of the pillars of intelligence that we were talking about in relation to this fixed and growth mindset. Now, Obviously, intelligence as in your general IQ. This is something that surely people believe you can develop, because that's almost the whole point of the schooling system, is to take you through a systematic period of tests and exams and assignments and all that sort of stuff, and learning and lessons, so that you can improve your intellect, your intelligence quotient, right? So really the whole schooling system, in my mind, kind of portrays that this pillar of your intelligence has to be in a growth mindset, because you can't just be born with general intelligence. Like, you have to learn this thing. That's why you go to school. That's why you do the whole process. So we have your IQ, your EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, and then two other aspects that I think kind of get neglected, especially the fourth one, I think are also really important. Now, social quotient, how you are in social environments. Do you have empathy? Can you understand other people? How do you relate to people? You know, some people that like go up to, and you just find yourself talking your deepest, darkest secrets. Chuck some ones in the chat if you've got one of those people that is always in the group, knows everything about everyone, because you sit there and after a while you're just telling them everything. Or you've found those people that you walk up to, you have a conversation, and somehow within like 10 minutes you're at this super deep level, right? You're drawn to them. Exactly. So when I was younger, people would always come up and I'd be like, can you stop telling me these things? Because I just love talking to people. And it wasn't for years later that I was told that I have a very high social quotient, which I thought was almost nothing. But obviously, the more I go down personal growth and development, I'm really grateful for that level and how I've been able to grow and expand that. And it does, you just end up figuring out that you can talk to people and ask the right questions and empathize and feel people's emotions. And I think I've said this before, but as I grow, I keep going further and further down this path of believing that I actually might have like some level of ADHD, and this is a talent. Maybe it's a skill that people with ADHD have, is they can read under surface level. They get people's emotions, their empathy, and stuff like that. So social quotient is another key pillar of intelligence, and how you can grow and expand in the world, in communications, in network. You know, we often hear how important networking is and communicating, and it's not what you know, but who you know. I'm sure you've all heard that quote before. And this comes down to, you know, your social intelligence, how you can work your way up. Lots of CEOs and very high level successful people, they're not the smartest people in the building, but they do have the ability to connect with everyone, make friends with people who are more intelligent, delegate and put people into positions where they're better off, and basically get teams together and make them work and flow, I guess. Let's use that word. Okay, so social quotient is extremely important, and I believe this is something that you can grow and develop as well. Lots of people don't understand that. They just think, oh, I'm an introvert, or I'm an extrovert, or I'm socially awkward. Like, chuck some ones in the chat if you think you're an introvert, 2 if you're an extrovert, and 3 maybe if you're socially awkward and you have no idea. Personally, I go through ebbs and flows. I'm like, 1 minute I don't want to see anybody and I'm hiding in the corner. The next minute I'm the loudest person at the party. Somehow I'm totally both. Yeah, that's one and 3. There you go. So all right. So we've got an array of different responses here, and I feel that I'm the same. But my point here is that the social quotient can be developed just like everything else. You can have a growth mindset to everything. So if you're the kind of person that is terrified of public speaking, you could never see yourself on stage, you don't want to talk to anyone, when you go to parties you just want to be at home, but you don't like that about yourself. Now, if that's who you like and you love being that person, great. Like, that's fine. But if you want to be different, if you want to get out there, if you want to, let's say social media, it's terrifying. You don't want to do lives. You don't want to get in front of the camera. These are all skills that you can grow and develop. And over time, shift your identity, change the belief you have about it. And then you can start to act and behave like the person who is comfortable in front of the camera, who is confident, who is loud, who can present, who can express ideas off the top of your head. All these things, one pillar of the intelligence, which I believe is super important, which you can expand and grow. Now, the last one, which I think is really, really important for anyone who wants to be successful. And honestly, I didn't even really know much about this one until probably only a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, when I started researching into it a little bit more. But this is your adversity quotient. And I think you've heard me speak on this podcast before about how human beings, we have this incredible ability for adaptation. You know, like a horse, I've used this example before, when it comes out, it's within a few, now, if there's anyone who knows the exact stats, don't quote me on it, any of you vets out there, but basically in the first few hours, it's up on its feet, it's following its mum around, it knows how to be a horse. It can graze, it can, stumble around, and it can do what horses do. But humans, for the first 2-3 months, we can't even hold our own head up, let alone talk, walk, eat for ourselves, fend for ourselves, all those things that nature, like animals, can do. But why is this? Because we have the ability. We're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, but we do have the ability to grow and adapt to our environment. We have this incredible ability to grow, and not only that, but we grow from previous people. We get information handed down from ancestors and from grandparents and etc. So the human race has become the apex. Why? Because we have been able to adapt to every situation that we get put in. Now, if we take this as a species, it's incredible. But why can't we take this as an individual concept, right? How can we improve our ability to adapt, to change, to, as Bruce Lee's book would say, be like water, flow, just go with the flow. Just whatever happens, you can, okay, I'm going to change. This might not be exactly where I want it to be, but I can find a new path. I can continue forward. I can change my direction, but still go to where I want to go. I might just have to bend around a corner or something like that. So we have an incredible ability to grow, to change, and to be adaptive. But so many people get stuck in this routine, and they're like, change is horrible. I am this, and I want to stay like this forever. How are you meant to grow if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to adapt? Right. And this is why the fourth pillar is probably one of the most important in my mind, but so many people ignore it. So many people reject it. So many people don't want it. I mean, I live in Germany, and so many people here, it blows my mind how many people are like, nothing should change. I want it to be the same all the time forever. And it's just not going to work. Life can't be made that way. So we could take this idea of having a growth mindset for our adversity and our adaptability, and how much we can endure and change and grow through, and realize that we are pretty much capable of anything. If, and I'm using this quote because I'm just listening to the audiobook right now, but if we are like water, if we adapt, if we flow, if we have that adversity, if we can overcome these challenges, if we can keep pushing through, if we can, I guess, just have that mindset of like, doesn't matter what comes my way, I'm still going to make it. Okay. And those who are at the peak of success, those CEOs, those people right at the top, they're generally pretty smart intelligence wise. They've got a good emotional intelligence. They can understand that they can regulate their emotions. They can really understand people and direct and delegate and put people in a team. And any challenges that come their way, any adversity, they just go straight through. They just deal with it. They find a way. Okay. And this is what makes really intelligent people. This is what people who've got the growth mindset have got an understanding of these four pillars, and they work through each individual one, and they just keep going until they get to where they want to get to. So you don't have to be the top of anything, but if you have an understanding of these four pillars of intelligence and you work on all of them with an understanding that you can grow to any level and get better at any of these things, then once we combine them all, you become kind of unstoppable, right? If you have this mindset of like, I can grow any of these pillars of intelligence and put them all together and keep going until I get to the place I want to go, then I don't know. I get that. I just find it very powerful to understand these concepts and be able to look at each section individually. Let's just say that. Okay. I hope that made sense. It was a real big eye opener for me. This is why I wanted to share this message and lesson to you. So I hope that put some ones in the chat if you understand that, and I didn't go off too much on a rant. But yeah, so just wanted to clarify that not only do we have to have a growth mindset towards things, but we have to have it in certain areas, and we have to be able to implement, all four pillars. Okay. I'm practicing the pause and now adding go with the flow. Nice. All right. The last thing I wanted to try and get onto, because I figured I would be short, even though I went a bit longer on that, is procrastination. Put some ones in the chat if you procrastinate. And put some twos if you procrastinate like hell and that you're an expert at it. Because I have always had an issue, shall I say, with procrastination. And I'm going to use the word issue now, but that will hopefully change, or it will change as I explain what I've learned in the past. And as I went through my 3 questions, and I realized that I had a fear of failure. And I want to put this into a slightly different context where we have a fear of failure for short term and a fear of failure for long term. And some of us can actually overcome that fear of failure on the short term. However, the fear of failure for long-term goals is still there, which is a really weird concept to me, right? And so I don't mind failing. I can fail 101 times. I can fall over, land on my face, get back up, not a problem. But the overall goal and projects, these bigger ideals, these long-term objectives, those are the scarier ones. Those are the ones that it's like, okay, yeah, I can make 101 mistakes, but we'll actually achieve the final goal. And this idea of fear of short-term and fear of long-term goals, where you can overcome the short-term and make 101 mistakes, and it's like, yeah, it's okay, this is just me failing forward, but will I actually get to the bigger goal? Will I actually achieve the final thing that I have in mind? And this is where shifting from goal-oriented success to falling in love with the procedure is super important, because when we have that goal-oriented success, then we can fear that. And that's when we have this self-sabotage comes from. And this is where we start to, I think, overthink and start to protect ourselves, because we can deal with the small failures, but dealing with the big failure, that's a whole nother ball game. Okay. And when I was talking about my fear of failure and what I learned from that, it's about your self-worth. And this is what I said just before, that my self-worth clearly comes, and this is what we spoke about in the chimp paradox, from my achievements, from what I actually complete. It's a subconscious paradigm that I must have had from young childhood, but understanding myself to this deeper level, I realized that I have this fear of being unsuccessful in the bigger term. And so therefore my self-worth is obviously goal-oriented. And this is something that comes from, like I said, I don't know where, some childhood trauma, which I can't think of because I feel like I had a great childhood, but how do we learn from this? How do we grow from it? And how can we relate it to other areas of our life? And I was reading up about procrastination, and one article and one TED Talk actually that I was listening to discussed the concept of procrastination being a protective mechanism. It's an ego defense mechanism where lots of people who are actually very confident and have achieved high levels in their past use procrastination as a tool to protect themselves through fear of not achieving the same as they know they can. So if you have done something great in your life, if you have achieved stuff, if you are quite intellectual, if you are proud of your past, because lots of the time we think of procrastination on the concept of like, oh, I'm lazy, or I don't know what to do, I don't have the clarity, I don't want to XYZ because, I don't know, I'm lazy or I'm self-sabotaging. But it can be looked in the other way, where you're so driven and focused on something, but you are terrified that you won't perform like you have in the past. And so the ability to achieve at high level is great, but sometimes we get so scared that, oh, I know I've done great, but what if I don't do that again? Does that mean I'm less than I was before? Does that mean I'm different? Does that mean I'm getting older and not as good? Does that mean that maybe the ideology and success that I hold in my head is false because I can't achieve something similar again? And so what do? We procrastinate, and then we have excuses. Like the perfect example, you go to the exam room just before your exam comes in, and everyone's saying, oh yeah, like my computer crashed and I didn't have time, or oh, I only had 3 hours to study. Like bullshit, you've had the whole semester to study, but you procrastinated, and now you've got this excuse of finite time, because that is going to release your ego. Like, oh, I would have got the good mark that I know I'm capable of. However, because of all these things that happened to me before, that is why I did not get the thing that I'm achieving. And so procrastination comes from a protection mechanism where we're like, I know that I've achieved really well before. And if I allow myself all this time to work on it and my full potential, and I still don't get that level of success that I think that I can get, then I'm going to perceive myself as a failure. I'm going to see myself as not worthy. I'm going to perceive myself as less good as I already can see in my previous past. So we're living in the past about our previous successes, in turn, we are living fearfully and not allowing ourselves to achieve our full potential, which is kind of counterproductive and kind of ironic, because we're so scared that we won't achieve the potential that we had in the past. And so we procrastinate and we do all these things to give ourselves excuses. Whereas if we just fucking did the work, we'd probably outperform the previous self we had. Now, it's a realization and it's an understanding that I had about myself. Do I have a solution to this? No. Knowing it and realizing that all the lame-ass excuses that you use for procrastination, and you can have so many valid things for procrastination, like, oh, I got to check my emails, I got to walk my dog, I got to do my exercise, I've got to make sure that there's food on the table for the child. Like all these things are legitimate excuses. Like they are fine to have, but the problem is, where does your priority lie? And we spoke about this. We spoke about time management before, and really it's priorities. Truth be told, if I really fucking want something, I'm going to run to the shop. I'm going to get something very quickly to make, put it on the food, and then give myself the time of the day to do the things I need to do to get my business or my success. But we don't. We have legitimate excuses. We do the busy work and not the determined work. And so therefore we procrastinate, giving ourselves excuses as to why we couldn't perform at 100% and validate the fact that, oh, well, I didn't achieve to this level that I know that I can because I had X, Y, Z to do. So procrastination can also be looked at from a completely different perspective of not that I'm lazy, not that I don't know what to do, but I'm so confident in protecting myself of the previous past successes that I've had that I need justification as to why I cannot do these things right now. I need justification as to why I can't perform at my best. I need some excuse so that I'm able to not take full responsibility of any potential failure that I might have. And remember, fear is just, what is it? False events appearing realistic, right? So it's in your head. It's you seeing something else playing out that's not even true. So you're forecasting something that's not even real, and this is creating that fear. And so what do? We procrastinate by saying, oh, well, if I didn't have that one thing, I actually would have done better, but I did. So, I have an excuse now. All right. So I want you to revisit how you see procrastination. And next time you see yourself procrastinating, flicking through your phone, checking your emails, go, is this really necessary? Or am I just doing busy work? Am I giving myself an excuse because I'm scared of my big term failure? Or do I really need to be doing this right now? And sometimes you will need to be doing it, but you can do it and then do it in a much faster way and get straight back to the thing that you need to be doing. It's all about that prioritization. What is it that you really want to achieve? Where are your major goals lying? And are you doing the things you need to do to get there? Okay, I hope that made sense. It was a bit of an eye-opener for me, and I really want other people to shift their perspective on how they see procrastination, because so many times we're like, oh, I'm a professional procrastinator because but I'm lazy and I'm unorganized. But no, maybe you're just protecting your ego. Maybe it's an ego defense mechanism that you need to unravel some deeper subconscious thoughts towards. Okay? Right, now it's Friday. We've had a great week. Let's go. It's been a very busy week on the charts with all the news and speeches. So I want to head over to the trading call now. Do your mindset, get yourself in the right mind frame, do your affirmations, read through your why, look at your why if you've got it printed out in your journal, which you should. And yeah, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll be back. To all the people listening on the podcast, I'll be back on Tuesday. But to you all, much love, and we shall speak again soon. Bye.